What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bluegrass State of Mind, the show where three college roommates talk life, sports, and all the ridiculous things that happen in an apartment we like to refer to as Room 302. We're bringing you stories, hot takes, and the kind of late-night debates that probably should have stayed in the group chat.
So grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready for a wild ride through our past college life, sports, and everything in between. Let's get into it. This is Bluegrass State of Mind.
Welcome back. This is Bluegrass State of Mind. Tonight we're going to start out with a portal update. We've had a lot of, it seems like every time we take a break, something else is breaking news, or somebody's on the go, or somebody that we're looking at new, or we brought in somebody. But I guess first things first, let's talk about kind of what we had touched on last episode. We were really high on Lamar Wilkerson, and there's no lie to tell. I was, especially, I did not see a world of him choosing Indiana over Kentucky, especially after going to Keeneland on the weekend. And then, Mason, you had reported that, or had
He was
said
still in
that,
Lexington.
yeah, he was still in Lexington. And you said, I quote, that looks like Pope had locked this one up, and I was in totally agreement. And then, Colton, you sent us a message, and he's gone. So I just want to hear y'all's thoughts on that. But before I get to y'all's thoughts, I just want to kind of say, so this is something that he did say, and he says, I quote, this is Lamar Wilkerson, when asked about choosing Indiana over Kentucky, he said, I didn't want to go to Kentucky and just be another guy. Hoosiers basketball is a big-time name. They haven't been where they wanted to be. I trust Coach Darian DeVries and what he's bringing in. We can do this together. It's just going to make my story better. Hoosier basketball will be back. Colton, what's your initial thoughts on that statement?
Well, I probably picked a bad episode to wear red, I guess. But I don't know. I think he was just, whenever any one of these guys commit, they're going to talk about why they, I saw where that Pringle guy committed to Arkansas, and he made a comment today about like Bud Walton Arena was like the first arena to make his ears ring. I was in my mind, I was like, come on now. I mean, I'm not saying it don't get loud, but and that is like a big arena, but like, come on now. Like when Rip's on fire, I mean, that's a different atmosphere. So I do think that he's probably just kind of doing it. But as far as like not wanting to be just another guy,
Yeah, that's what got me. Just another guy at
I
Kentucky.
mean, I don't know what is he thinking. I guess he just saw the talent that we already had, and he just didn't see a place where he just came from a place where he just averaged 21 points a game or something like that. And I guess in the universe, he just didn't see himself averaging that. And if that was his focus, it was like, I can't average 21 points a game here, but I might can do it at Indiana where they've only got like 5 or 6 players on the roster, don't they? Or they don't have a ton. So my guess is, to me, it sounds like a guy that's more worried about getting his than the team. And if that's the case, then it's probably best that we missed out on him. I hate that we did because we really need that spot. But we'll get into it here in a minute. It was a big portal day. I don't know if y'all checked out, but there was a lot of big names in the portal today, and we'll get into that. But to me, it just sounds like he was kind of more about getting his rather than the team, and that's just we don't need that at Kentucky.
Yeah. Mason, what was your thoughts on this statement he made?
I mean, here's my initial. I wish him the best of luck, but him coming out and saying, I just don't want to be another guy. I'm going to bring Indiana basketball back. You were at Sam Houston State, and y'all went 13-16.
Let him know.
Come on now. I mean, yes, he averaged 20 a game, but you saying you're going to bring the Indiana program back to its glory days? Get out of here with all that. That stuff, that man to me is soft. I wish him the best. I know he's just trying to do what's best for him in the future and probably trying to go to the league, but that statement right there is just soft to me. You are taking the easy way out, in my opinion. Right? You're going to a place where you don't have to compete. you're not going to be challenged every day in practice. I mean, I don't know what all Indiana has, but when he committed, I think they had 4 or 5 guys on the roster. They offered him 2.8 million in NIL. If that's what he wants to do, best of luck to him. We could have used him, but to me, it feels like he's taking the easy way out and just trying to get his so he can go and take that next step. He doesn't want to be good and compete for a national championship. He's just worried about showing out for himself and getting to that next level. Best of luck to him, but that statement's bogus to me.
And we play Indiana at Rupp
I
this
hope we
coming
beat him by
year.
40.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it comes down to two things. The first thing's playing time. I mean, obviously, he looks at our roster and he's like, "Man, I can fit in this system right now, but there's a lot of guys that are some really good players. Probably not going to get what I had in mind about what I want to get." So that was the first thing. And then the second thing, it's money. It is. I read an article. I forgot but it was Rob Doster, if I pronounce it right. He's a sports analyst, and he said that the number from Indiana was a bigger number than what Kentucky had. I don't know what the number was, but that tells me enough as it is. I mean, for anybody, and now we're not talking about, I would say, just not even 20 years ago. We're talking about present day college basketball. Indiana has not been Indiana basketball for at least a decade. I mean, the last time that I can actually remember them being somewhat good was whenever it had the tall who beat us.
Christian Wofford.
Yeah, that group, and then even the
And
year after.
Oladipo.
Yeah,
Yogi
I mean,
Ferrell, yeah.
yeah, it's been a little while. So for him to select Indiana, there's more to it than what meets the eye. I mean, I think that's clear as day. I don't think it's something that like, oh yes, we're going to bring Hoosier basketball back to its glory days. Get out of here. No, that's not going to happen overnight. Now they might have a good year this year, but it's still not going to turn that program all. I mean, they have been in search for that program for a while, and they could get it turned over. But I agree, Mason. The dude is just kind of talking out of his head, I think.
I agree. I think he just used us as a way to get more money. That's all he did in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see that. Well, speaking of the player that we do have, or at least we did have, or at least we don't know if we will have, is Otega Oweh. Colton, talk a little bit about Otega Oweh. What has happened since last time we got on here?
Yeah, so Otega Oweh, he has declared for the NBA draft to go through the process while maintaining his college eligibility. You see several players do that today, in today's time, if they think, especially in a time when a lot of the ones who think they could fall anywhere on that end of first round, beginning of second round, they want to go through the process. A lot of them just want to learn about what they need to do to like improve the next year. Like they just go through the process to learn a lot about being like, okay, now go back to college and do this and improve on this, and your draft next year will be around this area. I think that he's going to come back. I'd be very surprised if he stayed in. I do think he has some physical attributes to be a first round pick. I just do not think the offensive side of the game is there to be a first round pick. And so if he's not going to be a first round pick, I mean, you make as much at Kentucky, as you're going to in the G League or as a second round pick in the NBA. So you might as well come back, work on your shot, improve, show another year where you just showed that you could take over in a couple games there to finish the season. So, what if we have that 2 or 3 games both the games he had against Oklahoma? What if that turns into like 6 or 7 different games this year where Oweh just goes absolutely off? I mean, his draft stock is going to go up. He's got the physical attributes, and all of a sudden he starts developing a consistent outside shot. He did make a few threes, but a consistent outside shot. And I mean, now if he does stay in the draft, it's going to be a big hit for us. I mean, he's the glue that we got to have coming back. We kind of have been building this team around him. I feel like, we haven't went and got anyone really in his position because like we're preparing for him to lock it down. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be. I do think he'll come back, but obviously that's to be seen. But those are my thoughts on kind of him entering the process.
Yeah, I think Otega Oweh. I mean, I agree. I think that he's definitely coming back. And no, and I might say I said last time about Wilkerson not picking him, but there in no way, shape, or form do I think Otega Oweh hits me as an NBA caliber player. You talk about his offense. usually if a player leaves and their offense is not so good, then they're studs at defense, and that's where their draft stock continues to rise. Otega Oweh's defense is not that. I mean, it's good, but it's not like, oh wow, this guy is a lockdown defender. And you think of the NBA, the dude's 6'4". What's he going to be
Yeah.
playing in the? He's going to be playing point guard at best, a shooting guard. He's not a shooter. Like so, I think he. Do I think he's making the right move by entering his name and getting those thoughts? Yeah, I do. Do I think whatsoever though that he's going to leave? Not a chance, because if he does leave, he's going to be one of those guys that signs to the G League, and then unfortunately, he's going to stay in the G League. And who knows, he might not even stay in the G League. He might be sent overseas. And if that's what he does, that's what he does. But I think the smartest thing for him to do is see where they put him at, listen to the scouts, what they have to tell him, come back and take what they give you and apply that to this season, and ultimately just improve on your shot. I mean, like you said, Colton, he's physical enough, he's athletic enough. I mean, the dude is an insane athlete. I mean, some of the time, some of the dunks this year, I was like, where did that even come from at 6'4"? So, but that's not what the NBA is. You got to be able to shoot it at a high level in the NBA. I mean, you got to be able to do that, because he would be. I mean, I just think of some great defenders in the NBA right now, and they would shut him down with ease, and because he can't create his shot, and honestly, he also can't dribble that well. I mean, he doesn't have a handle on him either. So then it leaves like, what will he bring to an NBA team? So that's kind of where I'm at, Mason.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat as you all are. You know, everything that I've kind of heard is unless he's a first round lock, he's going to be back. And every mock draft I've seen, he's nowhere on, any mock draft. And like you all said, I mean, the biggest thing is he has to develop some type of consistent offensive game. The only way he really scores right now is by getting downhill and getting to the rim. And like you said, Dylan, he's not big enough to play the three in the NBA. There's no chance he's playing that. So if he's going to play in the NBA, it has to be the two or the one, and he's got to develop some type of jump shot. And like you said, I think it's good that he's going to get that feedback. I think that's probably what every scout is going to say. Like, look, you've got the athletic ability, you've got the build. You just got to develop more of a scoring threat, right? You're only a one-level scorer right now, and you need to be a three-level scorer to be able to play on a team in the NBA. And we kind of said that all year about him. I think he has a little hitch in his jump shot. Hopefully, he gets some feedback. He can get that fixed in the off season. But I expect him fully to be back. Take advantage of this, test the waters, get your feedback, and then come back and grow and develop. And next year, go into the draft and give it your best shot.
Yeah. So I guess the next thing we need to talk about is we did lose out in Lamar Wilkerson, and that's a big loss, because right now this Kentucky team has a great roster, but we're missing one item, and I think we all know what is the one thing that we're missing.
A shooter.
We're missing a shooter. We got to have a shooter. So let's kind of talk about some of the guys that are still out there that are shooters. And I don't care if either one of y'all talk about. We had a big time shooter that I think's a shooter, decommit, who we originally thought that we was possibly going to get, unless something else has changed. In Trayson Eaglestaff, the guy from North Dakota, who once committed to South Carolina back in March, and then he has decommitted as of April 16th. And we were high on him. We were trying to get him in there, as well as Kansas and Gonzaga. Colton, Mason, either one of y'all talk a little bit about him?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kobe.
Okay. Yeah, so obviously his decommitment, odd that he's committed and already, and you never know, maybe he thought when he did commit, maybe they were telling him like these players were going to be here, we were going to get these guys, this is how much, and then things change, and all of a sudden the players like, wait, we're not, I don't see us building a roster that we can actually compete with next year. I don't want to waste. And so he's decommitted. But obviously he was one of the guys we were chasing. He's at, what is he, 6'6".
Yeah, let me throw this out. So he's 6'6". He's averaged, and this was last year at North Dakota. He averaged 18.9 points per game, 2.8 rebounds per game, 2.4 assists per game. He shot 41.6% for the field goal, and his 3-point clip was at 35.9%. He's an elite.
Yeah,
He's an elite scorer.
yeah, and that's ideal. The only thing, which I mean, so I could see him filling in the two. I just don't know that he can guard the two position. That would be my worry with him is the athletes. Like you take Oweh, right? I mean, he's playing the three for us, but you take that type of athlete at the two position, and that guy guarding the two. Now, if you want to make him the three,
I'd make him the
and
3. Just
and
put
maybe
Otega
maybe
Oweh at the
move
2.
Oweh, and that just like I said, that just kind of hit or miss there. Of course, with Oweh's jumper, but I'll be honest with you. I think there's some other guys that entered today that I would rather have than the Eagle staff guy, the Stokovich, Andrei Stokovich from California entered today.
Peja's son.
Yeah, Peja Stokovich's son, averaged 18 at California. Probably would have been a top 5 transfer portal guy had he entered when all this is. And PJ Haggerty
From Memphis.
from
Yep.
Memphis. I mean, a stud. I mean, what a guard that we could desperately need. I mean, both of those two guys are two of the best transfers that's entered so far. They entered today. Also, I don't want this guy necessarily, but he's going to be a highly talked about guy, and that's that Chad Baker Mazzara that we've talked about on here for Auburn. It's going to be 26 years old. I mean, I don't, I mean, he's another guy that, I mean, there's some big names that entered today that I think I would take any of those three over the Eagle staff guy. But now, granted, the Eagle staff guy seems like more of a Pope system
Yeah, he
type
does. That's
guy.
what
I
I
don't
want to
know that
throw.
he is the guy that we would need the most out of all those that's left, but I wouldn't be disappointed getting him.
Yeah.
I would prefer probably the other ones that are out there right now, but you just have to go with what you get.
Yeah. I want to throw one more out there is that Jameer Watkins from Florida State. He's
Yeah,
6'7". He averaged 18.5 per game and shot it at 42% from the field goal and 32 points for 3-point land. So, I mean, you have Jameer Watkins, you have the Eagle staff guy, you have the Chad Baker Mazar. What was the guy you said from Memphis? Say, I didn't see that.
Haggerty, PJ Haggerty,
Haggerty.
PJ Haggerty, and then the dude from Cal.
Stokovich.
Yep.
Stogovich. So I mean, there's 5 or 6 guys, and they're and that's the thing. You never know about the portal. And I'll real quick before I send over to Mason, hear your thoughts on the guys that you're liking. Was y'all surprised at all about the Chad Baker Mazar? I really was, and the reason why I say that is because
I was
dude's
too.
been there. Bruce Pearl uh, kind of took a shot on him, I guess you would say, and has stuck with him. And I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't getting minutes. It wasn't like he came from a program that was not winning.
Right. I don't really understand
Ultimately,
the
it just has to
move.
come down to money, probably, right?
Well, I would guess, but his style of basketball fits Auburn perfect.
Yeah.
I just the thing that could see is that I think he's probably an attitude problem behind the scenes. Right, we saw him get ejected from a few games and cost. I mean, he got ejected from the tournament last year, then cost them. Right against Yale when they got upset, and then he got a big technical this year during a game or two. But I think he probably can cause possibly more problems, and it'd be interesting to see if
He doesn't hit me
if
as a poke guy, though, at all.
no,
No,
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't personally want him. He don't seem like a
I
guy
don't
that
either.
Pope would.
I don't want
I
him at
know,
all.
and I don't. We haven't heavily pursued that R.J. Lewis either, and both those guys kind of seem like they might have somewhat of an attitude problem. And if Pope, he's going to sniff that out. So I just don't see either of those guys being guys that would chase it. It looks like we have contacted that R.J. Lewis from St. John's, but I don't think it's something we're heavily after. So I don't think either one of those two guys are going to be the guys that we're heavily chasing. But
Yeah.
Mason, what's your stance on the guys that are left in the portal? That some of the guys that you like, or what is?
Yeah. So first off, with the Chad Baker Mazar, I don't want him at all. I agree. I mean, I think you're seeing with this kind of new transfer portal thing, you have guys like him, right, who they know that they probably don't have a chance of getting to the league, but hey, let me test the waters and see if I can make an extra $1.5 million at a school that we may not be title contenders, but I can go here for a year, make an extra $1 million, and I'm set up for another 5 or so years. So I think we're going to start seeing a lot of that in college basketball. These guys who know that they don't have a chance to make a life in the league. So I mean, that's just kind of an interesting thing to me. You're probably going to see more of that going forward with these guys who may have been a big deal to a program and are a good fit at the college level. Teams need these type of guys, but he doesn't have the athletic ability to go to that next level. So that's just kind of interesting to me there. As far as the transfers in the portal, I, I like the Haggerty. I think he's a great guard for us that can score whenever he wants. He's a little undersized, but I think he'd be huge for us right now at that 1-2 position to create that scoring opportunity. The Stojakovic, I'd love to have him as well. I think he's a stud. And then, I mean, I'd say Eaglestaff and Mazar are at the bottom of my list. I like the Jameer Watkins as well. I mean, he's an athlete. I think he tested the NBA waters last year. Got some
Yeah, he did.
feedback. I was reading. I think he made on like catch and shoot threes, which is good for Pope's system. He shot 39% this year from three, and he also has the ability to put it on the floor. So I think he'd be a great fit in this system. If we can get guys going downhill, create shots for him, and then they start closing out hard, he has the ability to get by guys and finish at the rim. He's athletic enough to do that. So I'd say those are my top three. Between Haggerty, Stojakovic, and then the Watkins from Florida State. I think we really just need one guy to kind of close out this roster. Have a
Yeah.
have a guy that can be a real scoring threat for us that could go for 25, 30 on a night whenever we need it. And I think any of those three guys are capable of doing that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, it seems like every other day there's more people entering the portal and more people leaving. But hopefully our roster will come to a full form here next week. But we'll see. So moving on to our next segment, we have been proposed with a question that we're going to talk a little bit about. What this question is what sport do you think other athletes could also be pro in the most? And kind of, I asked the guys, like, how do we want to attack this question? Like, are we talking like, do they have time to train and get some training sessions in to practice, and then I think what we're going to do though is pretty much like go right into it. There's not going to be any training like for a year or so, like just going right into a different sport. So, Mason, let's start with you. What sport do you think other athletes could also be a pro in the most? The most, not other pro, but just out of the most. Uh, Go for it.
So, I mean, this is kind of hard for me to think about, but my initial take is going to be probably baseball, and here's why. I think a lot of the hitting aspect of it is just being able to read where that ball comes off. It's a lot of hand-eye coordination, being able to read it. I know you have a split second to react and read it. Oh, Colton, what are you throwing your hand in your face for?
You literally chose like what is ranked as one of the hardest sports
And I
in the
disagree
country.
completely. I listen,
I was
listen.
not
Mason,
saying this. I was
Mason, let
not
me ask
saying
you:
this.
do you have a better chance of hitting a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, or catching an NFL pass, or hitting or scoring a layup?
Between me and the athletes that are in the NFL and the NBA, I have a better chance of hitting a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. I just
No,
got to swing. Yes.
I really think you could maybe score in the NBA. That's
I
fair.
mean, I probably could. But here's
I
my
mean,
thing.
honestly,
Here's
I was
here's
not
my
seeing
thing.
this coming.
I did
Here's
not
my
either.
thing. Here's my thing. You have guys in Major League Baseball that they're not the best hitters. You don't have to be athletes to play out in the field, really. I could go. Listen, whenever I was playing sports, baseball was my best sport. Basketball was my worst sport. What did I go to college to play a sport for? Basketball. Because baseball, here's the thing. I think if you give a guy, let's just say, a year, all right, he goes through, let's say he goes to the training camp, he gets a year to sit there and watch pitches and read how they come off. And heck, you can stand up there and get walked 30% of the time in the Major League Baseball. All right. But if you go up there, all you got to do is make contact, put it in play.
Mason,
all you have to do,
I am
Yeah.
totally disagreeing with you on this.
all you have to
Like,
do, Mason,
like
you're
you're
not
acting
touching the
like
ball.
you're
You're
acting
not
like
touching
this
it.
100-mile baseball is going to be coming at the same spot every. You're not even
I'm not
talking
saying
about a changeup, a
Mason,
curveball,
I'm not I'm
like
not saying it is,
all
but
these other.
you know what 50% of baseball batters go up there and do? They try to guess the pitch. If they can guess what pitch is coming and try to predict what pitch is coming, they have a good idea of where it's going to go.
And
As soon as
look
it
at
comes out of that
and
hand,
my goodness.
and
as
look
soon
at
as it
their
comes out of that
batting
hand,
percentage, and you're saying you're going to be able to hit.
yes. How many pitches do you
You're
think it takes me
crazy.
to hit one?
Mason,
How many?
if you,
Oh,
if
okay. So if a major league like to
Yes.
get one in play,
Yeah.
Colton, how many are we going to give you? I mean, 100, maybe more.
yeah, no, Paul Skeens is he's not touching a ball. He's not touching it. Not even close. Like, no, like, here's my thing.
I
Baseball is the
can't believe
one
this has
sport.
come out of your mouth.
Baseball is the one sport that if you get 3 hits out of every 10 at bats, only 30%, you're a Hall of Famer. 30%
Okay.
of the time. Because it's that hard to do. Like,
Guys.
let me ask you, if you was to take the Lakers starting lineup right now and you threw them in football or baseball, which one do you think they're about to have more success in? LeBron
See,
James at tight end or LeBron
okay,
James hitting a 100
but
mile an hour
LeBron
fastball?
James is a freak of nature. LeBron
Exactly.
James
He's the ultimate athlete, but which one do you think he
Okay,
would do?
but LeBron James going to the NFL is completely different
No,
than
he is the ultimate athlete. Like
I
he
don't even
should.
know how
If
to argue this,
he
Mason.
he's
Like
the
I
ultimate
figured you would
athlete,
not like.
Mason,
Like
he is the ultimate
there
athlete.
is
That's the
no
best job.
way.
Listen, here's my thing. I think baseball you have to have the least athletic ability to do anything. In baseball, that's the sport that you have to have the least athletic ability to be able to
Okay.
go professional
Well,
sport.
you might be onto something. Like least athletic. But I wouldn't like totally disagree with that. But like, still, that has nothing to do with going out there and hitting a baseball. Like and being an athlete, like running and
Okay,
jumping.
so
And, yeah.
so here's
But
my
like,
thing, Colton. You said it's 3 out of 10, so it's guessing a lot, right? Whenever they're swinging.
That's how just hard it is to do.
I get that, but they're guessing a lot, right? They don't have that much time to respond.
But that's my
Right?
point,
exactly.
Mason.
They don't
You're
have
in
that.
Okay, but
But
that's
split second,
my
it's going to be
point.
by you. Strike one, strike
Exactly.
two, you're out.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. It's done.
Exactly. But that's my point. You get a guy that goes out there and all he has to do is sit there and get used to that ball coming that fast and say, okay, I'm going to guess that it's coming high in the zone.
How do you
Swing
get
the
used to
bat,
that?
make
How do you get
contact.
used to that?
What do you mean? You sit there
Mason,
and stand in the box.
Mason acting
I'm
like
not
he needs one at bat
sitting
and
in
then
the
he
box
could
with
be
a
over.
100-mile-an-hour
Oh
fastball
my
coming in
goodness!
my head, but it
I'm
takes the
just
least
sitting.
amount of athletic ability
Oh
out
my
of
god!
any
I cannot.
professional sport.
Okay,
No, he's
I
lost
don't even
me.
know how to argue. I'm gonna. We might have to come back to this. I'm gonna go ahead. For me, it's not. This is an easy one for me. When I'm sitting here thinking about other sports and throwing another guy from another sport into that, I think the easiest one would be football. And the reason why I say that is because it football has so many different parts to it. You could take any starting five, probably any or not. You could pick a guy from any starting five of the NBA and throw them on some sort of special teams. Whether and absolutely, Mason.
That's
They
true.
don't.
Okay,
100%.
but 90% of people who play special teams play other positions. You can't just say out there, you can't just throw them out there and say, all right, I'm going to have a block on a punt.
Why can't you? That's part of the game.
Okay. All right. Then my baseball player is going to be a designated pinch runner. He's just going to run bases and steal the bases.
Okay, go ahead. But I mean, that's a good point. But I'm saying though, okay, well, then I'll just say you could take, I don't know, 15 guys in the NBA and go put them at a actual spot on a football field. And they would be not successful, but they would be able, like, legit, like, okay, they can make plays. You're not taking 15 guys from the NBA and putting them on a baseball field, and they're going to be okay. Every one of them are going to be bad. They're not going to be touching a baseball. They're not. Okay? You can put 15 NBA guys in golf. They may be able to hit the ball, but they're not going to be at a PGA like they're like even remotely close. And I'm not saying my guys are going to be remotely close to NFL players, but they will be much more competitive in that
Yeah.
sport than they would in any of the other sports. And that's not even a
100%.
question for me. that's where I'm at. Colton, are you choosing that, or what are you choosing?
Well, yeah, that probably would have been the one I'd choose too, football, just because, like, to me, like, you take what was his name here at Western, George Fant, right? Played
Yeah.
basketball, and like he was a 6'8", like very muscled, but everyone knew like he had to play center at like 6'8", right? I mean, he didn't have a future in the NBA, and then he's built a 12-year career as an offensive lineman, and 13-year career as an offensive lineman in the NFL, and that's just because I mean he's 6'8" and become muscled, right? And the same thing with LeBron. You could give LeBron a spring training, and I guarantee you put him at a tight end position, and he's catching a pass at some point this year, 100%.
Well, it's
But like
also
you
you
put
have one job in football, whatever position you're doing. You have,
right,
but not
but
only one job, but
athletes. And here's the thing: I would have probably chose basketball second because I think of someone like now, granted his size, but I would have chose basketball second just because I think of someone like a Sheboy, right? Like an Oscar Sheboy, where the actual like offensive skill and talent is not there, but his size and strength and athleticism allowed him to get 20 rebounds. Now, I feel like you could go and find some, like, well, you take George Fant, right? He's that type of guy. He just Oscar had a little bit more height, but like he's 6'8" and he didn't have a lot of offensive skill, but he's so strong. He was constantly dominating the boards at college basketball. And to me, like if you could take a bunch of those like linemen, and if they slimmed up 100 pounds but kept the muscle, I mean they're bullying people down low. They may not be great scorers, but they're gonna get their rebounds.
I will say this:
I,
there's nothing worse than watching a football player try to play basketball.
That is true.
right,
like I'm talking like a football player who tries to play bully
right,
ball because it is the most
yeah,
unorthodox thing you could ever
yeah.
watch. Like,
I would agree. I think it would be football first, 100%. Basketball, definitely not baseball.
yeah,
You're
baseball is
crazy.
Not even
way
close.
You're
baseball is not
My
even
crazy.
goodness.
close. Like I
You're
was expecting maybe for you to say
Mason,
something like
Mason,
soccer
you
No,
or
soccer
yourself has a
definitely
better
not.
chance of hitting,
No.
like, you have a better chance of scoring on LeBron than you do hitting Paul Skeens. Yes.
Maybe
I'm
if
gonna
I'd
have
have
to agree
jacked
with
one
this,
up,
Mason. I think
maybe
that
if I'd
Huh?
both
have
are
jacked
low on
one
the
up,
totem
I may not
ball.
get a shot off against LeBron.
You're not going to touch, but you won't, the ball will be in the mitt before you blink. Like it's,
No, I'd have started swinging before that.
Mason, I could give you a
Defensive
tennis
ball.
racket and you're not touching that thing. Like,
Stop it.
Mason, Dylan, I was a pretty good baseball player, wasn't I?
Yeah, Mason, I'm telling you, like I'm,
I
Baseball
was.
was
It was
my
my
best
best sport
sport.
by far. I didn't pick
Me
up golf
too.
till 16. Like baseball was my sport, and I'm telling you right now, I could like. And the thing is I was better at hitting a 90-mile-an-hour fastball than I was a 45. And I don't think I could touch an MLB pitcher really. Like,
Here, here's the thing with baseball too. Like I said, it doesn't require a whole lot of athletic ability. It's a lot of hand-eye coordination,
yeah, it's
trying
a
to find.
skill. It's a skill now, and because some people will be like, "Oh, you tell me baseball players ain't
but
athletic?" No, that's not what we're
that's the
I'm
talking
not
about, or
saying
at
point.
that.
least that. Yeah,
Yeah, but I think that would be the easiest for somebody. Maybe not immediately. I think you could have a couple NBA players who could go to the
No,
NFL immediately and do
I
some
still
things.
don't think I still don't think
yeah,
after
no,
some training, it's going to
no,
be a while.
no. It is
All right,
much
well,
easier to transfer athletic ability than hand-eye coordination. Like athletic ability can transfer to other sports. Hand-eye coordination doesn't just transfer and show up.
all right, well, let's move on from this because I can't get over it, and I know Colton can't either.
I know. No, I didn't see that one coming.
Left field out of nowhere. All right, so speaking of the NBA, we had a couple of playing games, but specifically, we want to talk about Steph Curry. And we've talked about LeBron, we've talked about MJ, we've had the GOAT debate, even though that was shut down by me and Mason. Ultimately, that LeBron's the GOAT. But
100%.
Steph Curry, when you talk about Steph Curry, you talk about a guy who has 4 championships, 2 MVPs, one Finals MVP, 11 All Stars, 4 first team NBAs, 4 second team NBAs, 2 third team, all rookie team, 3-point champion 2 times. He's been the scoring champion twice. He's has the most threes ever in the history of the NBA. Where do we put him at? Well, like, how good is Steph? I will say this: whenever it was LeBron at the Cavs and Golden State Warriors, I hated Steph. I mean, I could not stand him. And the reason why is because it was like, not LeBron's kryptonite because he did beat him, but like it was just I hated because it was always like you would think that the game would be over, and then all of a sudden Steph gets hot and hit 2 or 3 threes in a row, and like the game, it's just he changed the game, and like there's not many people like I think of two people that like transform the game. I actually maybe three. Like, well, the first one I think of like that I like Michael Jordan. Like that's a guy who transformed the game.
Yep.
And then you talk about LeBron. I think LeBron transformed the game, maybe not with his play, but just of how freak of an athlete he was and came straight to the NBA and made that big of an impact. Because before then, there wasn't like a ton of guys doing that. And then you have Steph, who had transformed the game with his shooting, and like it everybody shoots. I mean, you go to any little league game. What do little league? What does kids
That's
want to be
it.
doing? They want to be
Right.
shooting threes, and
It want to be
it's a
Steph.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so what does Steph mean for basketball? And I guess where do y'all put him at on your list if you have a list? Colton, let's start with you.
Yeah, to me, I think he's. I mean, obviously, he's not going to go down anywhere near rebounds and some of these other statistics, but or he's never been known as a great defensive player. Like he's not that. But for his size, from where he came from, and at this age, he's 37 years old. Put up what he scored 35 the other night, 36, something like
I think
that.
it's 37, wasn't it?
37 points or something like that. Put up 37. And what I appreciate so much about Steph is how much he moves without the ball. I mean, the man is constantly having to
It
run
is an art.
around.
I mean, it's an
I mean, he
art.
does. He moves so much just to get open, and he's done it for so long now. And he come from Davidson. You know, his family obviously had the background in the NBA, but he kind of come from not expected to be this type of guy, and he became it. And to me, I probably will put him top 10. I really will, just when it goes down, because he's gonna be the greatest shooter of all time. He's got 4 rings, multiple MVPs, and the thing is, those rings have come against. I get it. He had other players on the team, on some like he's had some good teammates, but Steph has ultimately always been the face of the Warriors. No matter Thompson was there, Green was there, it was always Steph, and he's took down some good teams, good players, and so I mean, you're gonna look back, and I mean, I don't think they're going to win it all this year. Obviously, they're the 7th seed. They're not saying they can't make a run, but I mean, he's one championship away from really having serious conversations about like a top 5 to 6 top player of all time, in my opinion. And you start getting
Yeah.
5 championships and being the greatest shooter of all time, I
Yeah.
I put him in the top 10 at least. I mean, he's definitely going to be one that you look back and he's like he made a difference in the NBA.
Well, not just the NBA, but I mean the entire game. I mean, like
Yeah,
I
the
said,
entire
like
game.
it,
I mean, yeah.
before I send over you, Mason. So I think for me, Seth, I don't know if I can just confidently say he's right there at 10. I think for me, I want to say in confidence that he's at that 10 to 13 spot right now. And the reason why I say that is I think of guys like I wrote down some guys just thinking about it. LeBron, MJ, Kareem, Kobe, Bird, Magic, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Shaq. I even put Tim Duncan on there. Like there's like 10 to 11 guys. Do I think he's better than Tim Duncan? I do. But can I say that with full 100% confidence? Not just, I don't. But I agree with you, Colton, that if he were to go out and get another championship, he does drop down to at least that 1 to 6 margin. I mean, he's right there with LeBron, Michael, Kobe,
I mean, he starts pushing the
Wilt.
Magic
I mean,
conversation.
yeah, I mean, like
Like
he's up there.
Magic was probably an overall better point guard, true point guard than what
Yeah.
Steph is. But when you add the shooting ability compared to yeah, I mean, he starts having that conversation.
Oh yeah, I think he already is in the conversation,
Yeah,
but
he's in
like
that
like
conversation
man,
anyhow. But
but Mason, what do you think about him? I mean, he's a point guard.
Yeah. So, I mean, my biggest take, kind of like you, Dylan, I did not used to like Steph. And you can attest to this, Dylan, but mine and his game are almost complete opposites, right? Like, whenever I think of a point guard, that's not really who I think of. That's not who I grew up like, watching, trying to be like.
More
And
like a Steve Nash type
Or
guy.
like a Chris
right,
Paul, a Steve
right,
Nash, like
right.
these
Yeah,
guys.
that's kind of how I modeled my game growing up, and what a true point guard is. Right. Steph's kind of changed that narrative, but I will say I've grown to appreciate his game much more since I've stopped playing the game. And I think what he's done is just absolutely incredible. It's so impressive. I mean, like you all said, he's changed the game of basketball completely. He's going to show that. I think before people kind of had that narrative that point guards like this weren't successful, weren't who you needed on your team, but
They weren't effective for a team.
right. And I think he's kind of an anomaly because of how well he shoots the ball. But what he has done is absolutely incredible to me. And for me, I'm putting him in my top 10. I don't think he's cracked top 5 for me yet, but the way that he has changed the game of basketball, and I mean, it's almost impossible to guard that man. The way, like you said, somebody said, the way that he moves without the ball, he's constantly moving. That performance he put on in the Olympics. What's that they have on Netflix right now? Chasing Gold or something. Um, I mean, that documentary of the way that he performed in the Olympics, it's just, I mean, some of the players just talking about like, what do you do? Like you literally cannot guard the man. And I was reading something earlier in 2015 and 16. It was his second straight MVP season. He averaged 30.1 points per game. He shot 45.4% from three on 11.2 attempts per game. That man shot 11 threes a game and shot over 45% from three, which is just absolutely incredible. So for me, definitely top 10 for me. I don't know that he's cracked top 5 yet. I'd probably put him at about 6 or 7 right now. If he could somehow find a way to pull out another championship, he definitely cracked the top 5 for me. But I mean,
I'm gonna tell you, there's gonna be a lot of people that listen to this and be like, "Are you serious? 6, 7?" Because
Yeah.
there's gonna be
Well,
some older guys up there that like
you brought up like the reason I say that is because you brought up like a Shaq, right?
yeah,
And like Shaq obviously was so dominant because of his physicality, but like it's not like he could ever shoot the ball. It wasn't because of his free throws. It wasn't. So you want to talk about like a one level like type player, like Steph's shooting ability and scoring ability. Obviously his defense wasn't that great, but like it's not like Shaq's offense was that great. But he's going to go down as one of the best centers of all time. And that's why, like, to me, if you're counting Shaq up there, then you have to look at Steph Curry and be like,
oh,
I mean,
I'm in
oh yeah,
agreement.
no,
So I
I
think
agree. And I'm not usually one like I'm usually one on the favorite, but to me, like at 37, the way he's still moving and doing it, I mean,
it makes
and being
you
so one
appreciate.
dimensional, right? It'd be different if like he was 6'6" and could score so many different ways, but he's not that big of a guy, and he might throw
dominate.
he might throw a floater up from the free throw line that goes 100 foot in the air, and that's only going in. I
Yeah.
mean,
That's
it's
the thing. I
different.
mean, at his size, the way that he's dominated the NBA and changed the entire game,
Yeah.
it's just incredible to me. I that's he's up there with Magic. I think it kind of depends on what style you like, right?
Yeah.
Magic was more of an all-around point guard, but Steph Curry is more of that point guard that can go out there and win you a game at any given time, and that's what puts him in that top 10 for me, definitely. Almost a top 5 because if you have Steph Curry on your team, there's a chance every game you're going into that you can win that game.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, it makes you appreciate like we're living in an age right now where we have got to witness. If y'all are saying he's top 6, then I mean I'm just feeding off that. 2 top 6 players of all time.
Yeah.
And LeBron James and Steph. Whether you hate them,
Um,
you love them, it don't matter. I mean, you've got to appreciate that. Like I said, I used to hate Steph, but I appreciate and I love watching him still. I do. I really enjoy it because I've gotten older. I'm like, man, this is not gonna last forever. I need to appreciate this greatness while it's in front of us. Because like here in a while, I mean, I'm gonna tell Hayes and Tripp, I'll be like, let me tell you about this guy. Like could shoot the lights out. You can be that one day. You may not be, and that's where the LeBron, like, you may not be 6'8", but there's a good chance you could be 6'2", 6'3", and you have a chance to be whatever you want and be a great shooter. And it can take you places. And I think that's what he's done for a lot of these kids is like they've made, okay, I don't have to be this in order to be successful. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a kind of a blessing and a curse, both. Like some kids buy into that too much, but like you said, Dylan, I think that's a great point. Like our era has got to watch so many, like Kevin Durant, another
Yeah,
one.
you're not
That's
even
a
talking about
topic for
Kevin
a different
Durant.
conversation, but I think he's top 15. The level
Yeah,
of
he's top
scoring he has
15.
at his size, I mean, we've got to watch some great basketball players come through the NBA, and it's incredible.
Yeah. All right. Mason, bring us into our next segment. Very interesting topic here.
Yeah. So our next segment is going to be about the Tennessee quarterback. I mean, it's kind of the topic of college football right now. I call him Nico Lama Lama, but basically, he and I've heard some stories that this was kind of going on during the college football playoff, right? Basically, I heard that I guess his agent, or I've heard his dad's been in it some too, but basically saying like, hey, he was guaranteed this amount of money to play this many games. He's in the playoff now, so he needs, more money. And that's kind of where all this started, is my understanding. And now, offseason came in, he's asking for more money, and was kind of holding out like we see some players do in the NFL, the NBA, like we said a couple weeks ago, it's kind of trending towards that. He was kind of holding out, asking for more money, and basically, he reached out to another program, or his agent did, and good for UCLA. I think is who it was, right? Or no, it was Oregon. Was it Oregon or UCLA?
Oregon. I think it's Oregon.
Oregon's the
Dan
one.
Lanning.
But,
Yeah,
yeah.
but good for him for calling it out and saying, "Hey, look, this guy's reaching out to me saying if we give him more money, he's going to come here." And basically, that got back to Josh Heupel, and he said, "Deuces." So they've let him go. I'll kind of let y'all share your thoughts, and then I'll get into mine. So Colton, why don't you lead us off, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, so to me, you could kind of see this coming, right? This is the type of trend that the NIL is leading to. And if, I think what Tennessee done is going to be it's going to change in a
Gonna
lot
be
of
a
ways for
revolution.
it really is because what it's going to show, because here's the thing, it'd been different if Tennessee done what they done the next day Ohio State turns around and pays the man $4 million to come be their starting quarterback. Right? Nothing gets solved. All it says is that, yeah, I might as well leave and go to the next biggest, like someone's going to offer me. But what happened was he wasn't getting any of these offers. Right? Even some of these smaller schools, none of the big schools were looking at him. They weren't going to pay him. I think he finally ended up at UCLA.
Yeah.
Right? And so then here you are, you kind of hurt your reputation. You didn't get the money that you were hoping to get. You went from a school that just made the college football playoff to a school that's been absolutely down. And truth is like you take a school like Tennessee with the NIL they have and the success they have, they're going to turn around. They're going to find another high-ranked quarterback, right? And they're probably going to go further than you or they're going to find a quarterback that's not as high ranked than you, and they'd still beat you at UCLA. Tennessee would. So to me, and I'm not even gonna blame the kid on this. Dylan said this the other night about the NBA it being a system failure to the players. Look, I think it's a system failure now. Like to some of these young kids, they're getting a lot of bad information. They're allowing their parents, their agents at.
Yep.
I mean, he was just a true freshman and just took him to a playoff. So the man's obviously talented, but they've let these parents and agents get so involved and there's no cap to anything that I mean it's just how it is and then he's probably getting bad info from those type of people as far as like hey you don't need to go out there and risk getting hurt so you need to hold out until we get this money for you and I mean you're talking to a 19-year-old kid all right like that man should be just dying to play football and so when it becomes about that I think it's going to start a trend though. It's going to show that these guys can't just do that, or else they're willing to move on. And unless something happens though, I mean, you're just going to see stuff like that happen all the time, and it's going to be a sad situation in one way or the other. Have a star young QB that just led you to a college football playoff that still has 2 years of eligibility left get booted out the door once he decides to have a holdout in college. I mean, that's just a sad state for the game, but Dylan, what's your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think the word that comes to my mind is loyalty. You know, where's it at? Where does it go? And that's where what this portal has done, and it's what this NIL and again, I'm not going to retract my statements on saying that NIL is bad. I still think that it is good for kids because you're talking about their name and their brand, and if people are going to be wearing their name, like they should get something out of that because that's who they are. But you see, like you said, a guy who's been successful, and the first thing he thinks about is more money. Like, where are we at? Like, what are we doing? Like and that's why there needs to be some type of contract wrote up, and there's got to be something done. And I don't understand how in the world these people who are in charge of college football, the presidents and whoever the chairman, I don't know, but like, how are they not figuring this out and saying like, we've got to do something? And I know it's easier said than done, obviously, because there would have to be a lot of things wrote up, but at the same time, if you see a quarterback on a great football team who just made the college playoff, and the first thing that they're wanting is to be leaving because they know that they can get more money, that is not a good place and a good place to be at for college football. Because then, I mean, it's gonna be everybody. It's just a snowball effect. I mean, it's just gonna transfer and go on to other sports. So that's just my initial thoughts on it. I mean, I think it's bogus. Good for Oregon. Um, I mean, he got what he deserved. I mean, he did.
Yeah. So my initial thoughts were the same thing. Like, good for Oregon for standing up and saying, "Hey, look, this is not the skate." Dan Lanning, shout out to him for saying, this is not the skate that college football needs to be in. We don't need players doing this. And my initial take was, what is this kid doing? Like, why? That's not what we need in college football. Why are these guys trying to get more money? And then I listened to. Do you ever watch the Pat McAfee show? I know it comes on kind of middle of the day, but sometimes when
Yeah,
I'm eating my lunch.
I don't ever have a chance to watch it. I mean, I'll watch clips from it, but not.
So a lot of times, like during my lunch, I'll turn on the Pat McAfee show, and I happened to turn it on the other day, and Kirk Herbstreit was on there, and I think Kirk Herbstreit is great. I think he does a great job with college football. I think he's very dedicated to his job, and he was talking about, I think it was the first game of the year, Tennessee and North Carolina State, and he sat down with Lama, and he said that he was he was very a very respectful, kind of down to earth, kind human being, and he was basically saying like he didn't see him coming off as being that type of guy, like just going out looking for money, you know, and he thinks that a lot of it probably came from outside sources, whether it be an agent, his dad, whoever it is. And I think the biggest thing is, and Kirk Herbstreit said the same thing, like somebody has to step up and say, here's the guidelines we have to set. Here's what we have to do. And maybe they take a bullet. Maybe they take some backlash at first, but there has to be some guidelines put in place for things like this in college sports right now. Because, and he said the same thing. Like, yes, I'm happy that they're getting paid, as am I. But it's the Wild West right now, and there has to be some type of contract guidelines, something that can steer these guys in the right direction instead of having these outside sources, these money hungry agents, or I hate to say it, but these parents who are out there saying, "Hey, my son can make $5 million here somewhere else, and I can get $1 million of that." And it's sad to say, but there's people like that in the world. So something has to be done to be able to regulate this, and it's sad to see the sport going through this. So I hope it gets corrected soon, because if not, could be going downhill quickly with guys just trying to get more money all the time.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, let's get into our last segment tonight for about 5 minutes, and then we'll get off here. But this week, the PGA is taking its tour to RBC Heritage in Hilton Head. Something interesting this week that the PGA is testing the waters on is they are allowing for there to be use of rangefinders. This is the first time that this has been used. And what that is obviously it's just a little device that they can click on, and they can see distances. However, with that being said, the PGA has made a statement that all other features, such as the course mapping, the club selection advice, these are all different things that could be on it. The slope, elevation, all of that cannot be used. It is only the yardage, and if you fail to comply to that, then you will be given a 2-shot penalty. And if you don't comply to it and you do it again, then you could be DQ'd for the second time doing it. So, what are y'all's thoughts on this? This is very interesting because, and the reason I forgot to say, the reason why this has been put into play is because to improve the pace of play. Because if there is one thing that PGA Tour is terrible at, that people will get tired of on television, is watching how slow these players are. And when we play golf, I will say, when we play golf, we do move a little slower whenever like we have a serious shot. So I do get it from the player's perspective. Every shot matters. They're trying to make a cut. They're trying that like this is their paycheck. This is the way they make a living. So their shots are a lot different. So we can't be so quick to say, man, these players are taking forever. Well, they have a good reason to. However, some of the players, it's way, way, way too long. So this is just something put in place to test the waters on, see if it can speed up play just a little bit. Mason, what are your initial thoughts on using a rangefinder?
So I caught bits and pieces of it today, and correct me if I'm wrong, Colton or Dylan, but they're only playing in 2-man groups this week? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was listening to one of the on-course analysts kind of following a group, and they asked, hey, have you seen anything with the rangefinders? And I don't remember what group it was. It may have been Schauffele, and who was he playing with today?
I didn't watch it, so I don't.
I'm not positive. Maybe Clark or someone like that.
I just caught bits and pieces, but he was following one of the marquee groups, and they were asking him about rangefinders, and he said, "I have not seen them use a rangefinder one time." And to me, that was interesting. Like, why not use it? It gives you a quick yardage of how far you are from the pin. But in my opinion, I don't see any issue with it. I think it could help speed up some pace of play. Go ahead and get your number, and then you can factor in all the things, all the other aspects that factor into that particular shot that you're taking. But I mean, I wish they probably would have done it on a different week, is I guess my biggest thing, because they're doing it on a week that is 2-man groups. Like, it's not going to be slow play compared to 3-man groups, and then you have the cut. It's a little bit of a smaller field, I guess. But I wish they would have done it on a different week so we could have got a better feel. And I think there's 2 tournaments they're doing it in. Is that right?
I think they're doing it for the next 3 weeks, is what I was reading.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we'll see as it goes on. But my biggest takeaway today was, when they said they haven't seen either one of those players, or their caddies use the rangefinder one time, I was thinking, why wouldn't they use it? Is my big and
Right,
Cole,
yeah.
maybe you've been around golf a lot longer than I have, but why wouldn't they use it if they're given that opportunity to use it?
Yeah. My only guess to that would be, I maybe they just have gotten to such a routine and such a feel with their own game that they get worried about. Okay, well, I can, this is a certain distance, and this is normally what club I use for this distance. But on a course like there, where there's so many trees and there's so many, like, you have to shape. The best part about this course is you have to shape so many shots.
That's
And
right.
so they may just sit there and say, well, yeah, I know that that's the distance, but like I really feel like I could shape this one and club down, or I could club up and really hit a high this or high. And maybe they just like the routine. Otherwise, I don't really understand not using it. At least get an initial distance. You've got a yardage book. It just can reconfirm, right? All the caddies have been out there and marked all the yardages. And all it really does is reaffirm that, like, oh, yeah, like this is exactly what I have on this paper too. Then you judge obviously the slope. To me, I'm like you, I would like to pick it, but now you look at it, I will sit there and say, I would like to see the game become more difficult, right? Like, I think now you're seeing with the technology and everything, you're seeing such high scores in such tournaments, right? You only have a handful of tournaments a year where it's like a 8 to 14 winner. Everything else gets into the 20s. Justin Thomas shot 10 under today. Scotty Scheffler. I got to watch some Scotty Scheffler. He used a rangefinder. Literally his first like 8 like approaches all were pin high perfect. He missed some shots, but like they were pin high. So he was getting an exact number. And we've seen Scotty sometimes hit some shots and they go a little deep or a little short and him just look and be like, what? So now you give the number one player in the world the exact distance and all of a sudden he's throwing it exactly that distance every
Yeah.
time. I just wanted to see. I would. I don't mind them because the pace of play if they really do work. But at the same time, like I want to see the game go the other way to where you have more tournaments winning at 12 under. And to me,
Mhm.
rangefinders just gives you more of a way to shoot even lower. And I'm not a huge fan of that. So I'm not against them if the pace of play really makes that big of a difference with them. But if they're not going to improve it by that much, then to me, uh, I mean, I would just rather them not be in the game just to not help with the difficulty of the game.
Yeah.
Dylan, let me throw something out there real quick. You can answer, and then after you give your thoughts, Colton answer. So my thought is, do you think like with the live coming on and playing less, right? Do you think these rangefinders allow some of these guys and golfers to maybe not be out there as much and getting exact yardages from locations? Do you think that takes a little bit of like work off of them? PGA Tour season is so grinding and so long. Do you think that could be a factor in it as well, Dylan, as like allowing them to go out there and not spend 8 hours on the course one day because, hey, I have a rangefinder, I can shoot this from anywhere I want? Do you think that's a factor that plays into it as well?
For the caddies or for the players?
Both.
Yeah, I mean, like the caddies. I mean, that's what they do. That's what they do with their coursework. I mean, they use rangefinders. So like that again, that also makes no sense to me. That like if they're not going to use the rangefinder, that's what they used whenever they do their course study. I mean, right? I mean, they don't go out there and step off 130-yard shot. They get a rangefinder and they hit the pin with a rangefinder. So like it's just affirmation, like they're just reaffirming, like, okay, this is right. But I think that yeah, it could be a little bit of that. I obviously I don't want, and I don't think it's going to do this, but I don't want at all for golf to head down a direction where it takes less off of the caddy, because I think the caddy, the work that they do is great. It's so particular, like it's down to a fine point, and that caddy connection with the player is because of all that work that they do, and it's a trust. They trust them because of all the work that they've done. So I don't want to see anything that's going to take away from the caddy, and I'm not saying that that's what this rangefinder will do because they use it. However, I could see something in the foreseeable future, possibly, if we were to be like, okay, these rangefinders are a great idea. It's sped up play. Now, what's another thing we can do to like? I could just see some golf talk. Not that it would actually happen, but and I may not even answered your question, but that's kind of what my initial thoughts
No.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm like you. I think the biggest thing it would save is like you take those caddies, they're going out there, but like they're probably not going over to the woods and shooting it from that distance, right? So like if their player, the player hits it offline, they're over here in these woods. So what the caddy's doing is going to the spot that they shot, then having to step that off and say, okay, well, I had you at 130 here, and from this distance to over here is this, and now also you're doing all these calculations. Whereas if you've got a rangefinder, you're shooting it from the woods, and you're like, okay, that's what it
Right.
is. So I do think that that's where pace of play could be saved with the rangefinder if they use it. Um, but I'm like Dylan. I mean, those caddies do a lot of work going into it, and a lot of trust is built between that relationship between that caddy and that. So all of a sudden, if you start taking a rangefinder, I mean, maybe you get out of your routine. A lot of those guys they like talking to their caddy right before they
Mhm.
hit every shot. So all of a sudden, if it becomes all right, you got 130.
Yeah.
Like hit your one. Like, I mean, I just think that they enjoy that talk through before they actually step up to a shot. But it could
Yeah.
change the game, but it's still to be seen.
Yeah. All right, we're running out of time. So, real quick, I know we didn't talk about this, but while we're on it, give me one winner for this week. RBC Heritage. Who you got? Mason. One winner. Who you got?
My boy JT. I seen a post on his Instagram earlier this week, and I was like, man, he's playing well. He's grinding right now. So I actually put a little bet in before the tournament started for JT to win it all. So I hope he stays hot and can end up winning it.
Colton, who you got winning?
I'm gonna go with Russell Henley.
That's what I was going to go with.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Russell Henley. I think this type of course is the one that fits in where it's not a big bombers course, but just more of a strategist type guy. And he's up there, played really well today. What shot was 7 under.
Yep.
I think that's I think he's gonna be my pick he's played very well this year. Already got 1 win, so
Well, if you're taking JT and you're taking Russell Henley, I'm going Scotty then. I, I think Scotty's due one soon. I mean, he's playing great. He's
Yes.
cracking top fives in every tournament now, it seems like. So ready for him to bust through and take 2024 or 2025 over and compete with Rory, because see them go head to head for mano a mano would be awesome. So we've run out of time. Thanks for listening to us. As always, fellas, go Cats.
Go Cats.
That's a wrap for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be on the lookout for our social media pages and be sure to follow them. We've got plenty more stories, insights, and conversations coming your way. And if you really loved it, make sure to share it with a friend. From the hills to the hollers, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep that Kentucky spirit strong.